Hello crafters, this is Flavia and I hope all is well. In today's video, I will show you 3 different looks that we can get using the same stencil so we can make the most out of it. For some reason, stenciling is not something that I do very often, and to be honest, I think it is because I forget. There are many different techniques and supplies available nowadays, which is wonderful, so today I am challenging myself to do something that I haven't done in a while, which is stenciling, and I hope you enjoy this video. To create my front panels, I will be using the Simon Says Stamp Fading Florals stencil along with the positively saturated ink pads in the colors Lilac, Bubblegum, and Seafoam. Using a blending brush, I will begin by applying the ink color Seafoam right in the center of this panel, then Bubblegum at the bottom and Lilac on the top. When you ink blend, make sure to overlap the colors a little bit so you get a nice blended result. By the way, this stencil is not a new release, but it is still available if you're interested, and I have a supply list in the description box down below so you can check it out later. Also, remember that you can use any stencil that you might already have for this technique. Once I'm done ink blending, I will clean up the stencil with a dry clean cloth before removing it and check out the beautiful result. I will set this panel aside for now and move on to the second panel using those same ink colors. The cardstock that I'm using is the Hammermill 100 pounds cardstock that I cut to 5.5 by 4.25 inches. To make sure that nothing shifts as I'm ink blending, I taped the stencil to my work surface using purple tape. Once I'm done ink blending this one, I will clean up the stencil again and then trace this floral image using a black fine tip marker. As you do this, make sure to use one hand to hold sections of your stencil down to make it easier for you to trace these images. For this technique, I think it is better if we use a stencil with large designs, just because if we choose a very intricate stencil, we will have to do a lot of tracing and it will take a little bit longer. What's great about stencils is that they are very easy to use and there are many ways we can use them. Also, they are very inexpensive and they do not take a lot of storage space. And now, as I remove the stencil, check out this bold look that we gave to this soft stenciled panel by simply using a black marker. Moving on to the third panel, here is another one that I already ink blended using that same stencil and ink pads by Simon Says Stamp. I already cleaned up the top of my stencil with a clean cloth, and before I remove this stencil, I will again give this image an outline. However, this time, instead of using a black marker, I will use Sakura Jelly Roll Stardust pens in 3 different colors to match the 3 different colors of ink pads that I used earlier. With these pens, we will be able to create a very light and shimmery outline. So if you like the idea of adding an outline to the stencil image, but you thought that the black marker maybe was too bold for you, this is definitely a good option. It really is just a matter of preference, and I think both options are gorgeous. I noticed that I was having some trouble tracing with these jelly roll pens, and the ink was not coming out of these pens because I was being impatient by not waiting for the ink to dry on my panel. So make sure that your panel is completely dry before you start tracing these images with jelly roll pens. Here is a closer look at the final panel and notice how much sparkle these pens added and how perfectly they match the ink blended panel. Just gorgeous, right? Off camera, I trimmed each panel to 5.5 inches tall by 3.5 inches wide, and I will adhere each panel to the front of a side-folding A2 size card base that I created using a gray color cardstock. I am placing the card base on the corner of my score buddy just to make it easier for me me to line up the panel with the card base. Then, using the Simon Says Stamp Strips 1 metal plate, I cut out cardstock strips out of a silver glitter cardstock that I will adhere to the left side of my floral panel. This thin glitter cardstock strip will add just enough sparkle to the front of my note card. I will trim off the excess with a pair of scissors and then add white panels inside where I can write a personal message later. These white panels measure 4 inches wide by 5 1/4 inches tall, and because my card base is made out of lightweight cardstock, by adding these white panels inside, it will make it feel heavyweight, which is what I prefer. For the sentiment, I use the Simon Says Stamp Simply Thank You die set. It comes with metal plates to cut out the sentiment thank you, as well as a shadow piece for this die cut sentiment. And today I will use both. I will stack 3 die cut shadows and the word die cuts for dimension, but you can definitely skip this step if you do not want the extra dimension. Here is a closer look at the completed note cards. To make the envelopes match, I stenciled the flap of each envelope using those same ink colors, and to add interest to the background, I used either a black marker or a silver jelly roll pen. Also, since I trimmed the white panels to 3 1/2 inches wide, a good portion of the gray card base is showing at the front, which I thought was a very nice touch. I hope you enjoyed this video and felt inspired. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel so you do not miss the next one. Have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you again soon.